The title of tonight's show is The Center, and we have Chris Dodson, who is Senior Program Director, and Steph Seffinger, who is the Chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, with us tonight. I'm John Stromberg. I'm Ashland Mayor. What I'm interested in, really, is talking about this from the point of view of what the center does in people's lives. But let's start with the actual facility. How would you describe it, and what's the feeling of it?
Well, I would describe it, as I've described it to many people in the past, as Mayberry. It's warm, it's welcoming, it's small, and intimate at times. We offer such a variety of different things and try to hit as many kinds of needs that the community members who come will have. So, for example, we do a social service component through the senior program, but through the center itself. It is a place of gathering. It's a place of social interaction. People come there to exercise, and they come there to break bread together, and they come there to hold discussions with one another. You can learn how to improve your computer skills, or if you just have that new iPad and you don't even know how to turn it on, we can help you learn that too.
What's going on in people's lives that they find it meaningful to come to the center?
I think there's a lot of different ways that we connect with people. The first way is through information and assistance, which is something that we provided for 40 years now through the Older Americans Act. And that is either a phone call of somebody asking for a referral somewhere, or do we know something about this, and then they'll say, well, what do you do there? Or that's one way. And another is a family member who says, my father's living alone there, and his wife had died 6 months ago, and I really feel like he could get out and be around people. That might be another interaction. It's not economically based. It is a myriad of socioeconomic levels, and it hits a lot of different kinds of needs that way.
So they get connected with you. When they call in, who do they talk to? Who answers? We
have 3 staff. So we have an information and assistance specialist, and we have an outreach specialist, and then there's me. So it could be any one of us who happens to pick up the phone, and we just start engaging in conversation, try to figure out what their needs really are. We start out by asking what they're interested in, because it depends. You know, people have all different levels of physical activity, for example, and they have all different levels of what they're willing to do. And some people can't walk, and some people can dance. And so we have to try and kind of start asking some questions. You know, what seems most comfortable? Would they like a whole range of options or not? And do they want that from us?
Can you send somebody out to get them?
Yes. Well, we don't send anyone out to get them, but we send someone out with all the information they need.
Oh, really?
And, we do quite a lot of outreach in home visits. So we would go sit with them and show them specifically, you know, what's offered in the transportation world. And then from that point on, as you're sitting with someone in their living room, you can really assess a little bit about what their needs are and go from there.
I do visit the center. I wish more of our city council and commissioners and different people would come, because I think that they would be totally amazed and thrilled about all of the things going on there.
Well, that's our kind of towards the end of our lunch program. We're usually pretty full every day. So if you were to walk in, one of us would greet you, and then we would bring you over to a desk that's off to the right, where you would check in, and we'd introduce you to that person, and they would say, oh, great, and they might go with you and find a spot for you to sit and introduce you to the people on either side of you, and everyone's there to socialize, so it's very friendly, as you can see.
How many different people will come through total?
In the course of a day, depending on what's going on, we can have anywhere between the lunch program and the activities, and then people walking in for information, and the volunteers and the Meals on Wheels drivers. You know, so we have maybe anywhere from 80 to 100 people in a day that come through.
It's a place. It's very full of life. And it's lots of kind of easygoing relationships, but lively stuff.
Well, it's cheerful, and that's a real important goal for us, to make it cheerful and welcoming, because everyone's at different stages in their lives and have different physical ailments or not, and different emotional things going on. And so, you know, if you can make it that, you've done a lot, I think.
What happens when people fall ill or need medical care?
We just had someone get into an accident, and he was a regular person, and he's over in Providence. And a man who sat next to him just met him only a few months before, and they found that when he came to lunch that they enjoyed talking about books. They both read books. And when the man got into the accident, was taken over to Providence, and he doesn't have any family here in town, this other person took it upon himself to just do regular visits about every third day, and come back and tell everybody how he's doing, and then bring cards and things over. And eventually, I think a niece came, and so he was able to pick her up from the airport and connect them up. So.
Well, I think that in Ashland, practically anything you do, regardless of how programmatic it starts out, gets personalized, and people work with it and they play with it.
We sort of keep track of people a little bit, not in an invasive way, but if we haven't seen someone that we think we should have seen probably in the last week, we can actually go out and take a visit to their home, or if we happen to know a friend of theirs, ask where they are, kind of. So there's a little bit of a safety net there with.
You're doing like what I would call soft counseling or soft care. You're not making you're not being formalistic about it, but you are paying attention. It's important that you are kind of tracking these people and who they are and what they're interested in. And sometimes, I assume you can't get that all just by sitting down and asking them. You have to get
we have
them.
To see. You
yeah,
know,
you have to get.
Sometimes they don't know either until they get into something. We just recently had a man who we got a referral from the police, and he had been driving, and he went off the road in Northern California, and he might not have needed to be driving any longer, but he had lost his wife, and so someone down there called our police department, who happened to know him because they used to play softball with him. And so they, once he was home, they got the family contacted. Family lived in California, and they came up and they started assessing his needs. And then this police officer called us to come out, and we waited until the family was there, and then called and made an appointment. And we all sat around their dining table, and I told them what was available and what we did at the center, and just other resources. That the transportation one was another one. And I no sooner got back to the office than that car was driving up right behind me, and his daughter and he were coming for lunch. And so we had them come in, and he felt very welcomed, and he enjoyed the food quite a bit. And the next thing I know, he was trying the line dancing. And he's a very active person physically. And he enjoyed that. He toughed it out for a long time, being the only man in there. But he didn't care, and he just tried it. And I think now he's moved from that into playing cards. So he's enjoying cards, and he comes every day for lunch, and then on occasion for another activity. And that was within, just a few hours. I think that is kind of what we're trying to go for, is that feeling of just being accepted. Come on in. It doesn't matter your abilities or where you are at this moment. If you want to enjoy something with us, you're welcome.
I think that's important. The most valuable thing you get is how you're treated when you're in a kind of a difficult, awkward, unfamiliar situation, and people do not treat you in a bureaucratic way. They treat you as a human being.
We're going to have to be our own social network as things are going in this country, I think. And I think we're a model of that. It's very exciting. That value of richness of life, the social connections, the volunteers. What you see is a lot of smiles on faces.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up volunteers, because we utilize volunteers as not only part of our mission, but actually the pretty much the only way we can accomplish every single thing in a day that we take on is because of their efforts. And we have, I think, last count, 54 active volunteers.
How does it happen in your life that you find yourself doing this work and in this particular place?
I think I've always really appreciated the life experiences of people that are older. I've always liked that, I guess. I value it a lot. And I love there's certain aspects of that demographic that I love a lot. There's sort of a polite, I don't know, formality that people treat each other with.
What is the secret sauce of a city that creates creativity and vibrant citizens? Ashland had that.
I can imagine this is like becomes a really important center of somebody's life.
All of our quality of life goals, I think one of the things that's really important about the center is that we're making that happen.
Yeah.
We're creating quality of life for a lot of people.